Hey folks, Tiedyeman here, and it's time for another episode of Tiedyeman's True Stories. Now, this story, I'm going to ask you something first. Have you ever had your car catch on fire? Well, I have, more than once. Actually, I had one car that caught on fire 3 times, but that's another story. I won't tell you about that one right now. I'm going to tell you about the first car that I had that caught on fire. Now, this car was a Ford Fairlane, a 1969 Ford Fairlane. And I had been driving the car for a while, and I bought old clunkers, and that was the thing. That was what we did back in the day. We bought an old clunker, we drove it until it died, and then we bought another one. Because, I couldn't afford a new car, and that was just the way to go. I'd buy a car for 200 or $300 or $400 and drive it a couple of years, get another one. So this Ford Fairlane that I had, I think I paid about $400 for it and something like that. Made payments on it or something to this guy. Anyway, I got this car, and I'd been driving it a while, and I went to visit a friend of mine who lived out in the woods in Mountain Ranch. And he had a bunch of stuff out in the on his property. He had a bunch of, I was buying some things, some ammunition boxes or something like that from him. So I was out in his junkyard, like looking over some things. So this is kind of out in the woods, and there's, no running water out there or anything. Just a bunch of old junks and on a dirt road in the woods. So I'm out there, and I'm pretty much done, I guess, for the day, looking at the junk. I guess I got what I wanted or whatever. And I got everything loaded up in the car, and I'm getting ready to go. And I start driving off this dirt road, and I'm going slow because it's bumpy and it's dusty. So I'm trying not to stir up too much dust. And then I see this smoke coming up from underneath my hood. And I'm like, well, what the heck is that? And so I stop the car and I get out, and I pop the hood open, and my engine's on fire. And and it's not a big fire, it's just a little fire, but there's, all this yellow flame at the top of on the top of the engine, and I'm going, what do I do? I don't have a fire extinguisher. There's no hose. There's no water. So I grab, the only thing available is the dirt road is right in front of me, and I grab handfuls of dirt, and there's gravel in there, and I don't have time to think about it. I just grab this dirt, and I just throw dirt all over the top of the engine until the fire goes out. So, luckily, the fire did go out. So I have all this dirt on the engine now, and I get a good look at what happened. And what happened is one of my spark plug wires, the insulation must have been wearing off of it. It was cracked or something, so there was a spark from my spark plug wire. Just happened to hit a leak from my gas line. I had a little, in between the carburetor and the metal gas line, there was a little section of rubber gas line, and that little bugger had a leak that split on one of the ends, so it was leaking, and that is what ignited the fire. So I got my Swiss Army knife out, and I cut the little rubber gas line, and I reattached that. And then I thought, oh, those wires, then I looked at the spark plug wires, and now there wasn't just cracks in them. Now most of the insulation had burned off of the wires, the spark plug wires. And, they're right over the top of the engine, which is made out of iron. So I'm figuring these things are going to arc like crazy. And who knows if I'm going to have another fire. So I look around, and the only thing I can find, I'm out in the woods, is sticks. So I find a bunch of little sticks, and I break them down to the right size, and I position them on top of the engine, and they're holding the spark plug wires away from the engine. So now I'm confident that the spark plug wires probably won't arc, because they're separated by these nice little wood insulators that I put there. And I didn't clean off any of the dirt. The dirt is all still there on top of the engine, because I don't have anything to clean it off with, so I'm out in the woods. So I cleaned, I put these sticks there. I got the hose fixed. I start it up. Vroom! Thing starts right up. I drive it home. I drove that car for another 6 months, and I never fixed the spark plug wires. I never took the pieces of sticks off of there, because they were the insulators for those spark plug wires now. And I never even cleaned the dirt off the top of the engine. I drove that car for another 6 months with it just like that. And then I sold the car, and I have no idea if the people cleaned that mess up that I left them, but I heard they drove the car all the way across the country and back. I don't know if it was still like that when they did it. I'm guessing maybe it was. And then I heard later on that they had rolled the car, so it was toast. But that engine that caught on fire, that it was a 302 engine. That thing, somebody had pulled the engine out of the car and put it in a pickup truck. And the last I heard, it was still driving somewhere. Anyway, that was my first car that caught on fire. I had another vehicle that caught on fire, and I didn't even stop driving it. But, my friends, that is another story. Thanks for watching.